Mike, how close are you guys to being the championship caliber roster team in the vision that you saw when you took over this job?
Yeah, I think we're 1 year closer, and probably not all the way exactly where you want to be. But you know, I think year two is you have the ability to make such a huge jump. I don't know. I've said this so many times, but like I don't know that anyone fully realizes how hard it is in year one putting it all together. And so I think we have a more confident group. I think we have a better conditioned group. I think we're more entrenched in what we're trying to do systematically, and you know, hopefully that goes out and plays the way it needs to this year.
Yeah, along those lines, you know, you always hear the cliche about changing the culture. So have you changed it, or where are you on that process of getting, you know, your program where you want it to be and established the way you want it?
Yeah, I think obviously we've made a lot of progress and a lot of strides in that area. I think again, you had a really quiet off season. I think you know, I think we were able to set our roster in January, and there wasn't a lot of flex in what happened since the January portal window closed. You know, you're still hearing a lot of positive vibes in and out about the community, about what's happening in our program. I think all of those things are indicators of where we are. You know, if you're a head coach, you're never there. You know, you're never going to sit there and go, oh yeah, we have it exactly where it needs to be. I don't think it'll ever be there. I think that's something you're constantly driving to improve some aspect of your program somehow, some way. But you know, from where we were when this thing started to where it is, it's certainly in a much better place.
Tori's back here for a second. You're at Media Days. We'll went into the three guys that you brought with you. Just the decision to bring these three specific.
Yeah, so Torian and Amache both are captains. Obviously, you know, we gave Trey an opportunity to do it, and then you know, he kind of wanted someone else to get a chance. He got a chance to do it last year, and so you know, Will, we felt like was our most consistent defensive player last year, and so we were able to bring him along, and it was huge getting him to return to the program this year, and maybe just a little bit of a thank you for believing in us and coming back and not going to the NFL.
Marcel Reed was good last year, but how can he be better this year?
Yeah, I think he'll be a lot more comfortable in the system. I think, you know, nobody wants their first year as a starter to go the way it did for Marcel. You know, I think he gets thrust in as a starter at Florida in the swamp, and, you know, he's got to jump into that. And then, you know, Connor comes back, and then Marcel goes back in. And, you know, and I think to his credit, he handled what was a really rocky situation about as well as you could have, and learned a lot, had a lot of highs, you know, had some things that he wants to get better at for sure, but you know, going into this offseason, I think he's one of the kids that's developed the most in our program, and obviously he's a difference maker, and so we're excited with where he's going.
The running backs and the offensive line that you return, does that take some pressure off of Marcel?
Yeah, I think so, but I think for us to be the team that we want to be, we know we have to improve our throwing game. You know, I think for us to win the games that we want to win, to go into some of the environments we're going to have to go into this year and be successful, I think, you know, we know that our passing game needs to take a big step forward. And so obviously we have a really talented offensive line and running back room, but for us to be who we want to be, we've got to throw the ball well.
Oh yeah, I was going to say, I mean, you coached in this league a long time. How difficult is it for a first-year quarterback to run that SEC gauntlet? You know, it's one thing to be a quarterback, it's another to be a quarterback in the SEC.
Yeah, and I think even more than that is just the youth. You know, I think the second year in the program, 2 years removed from high school, you know, I think, you know, all of that plays a role. There's a maturity that needs to happen within your body development. There's a maturity in terms of understanding the game, the speed of the game. You know, it's a challenge. This league is a challenge. And then you go on the road in some of these environments, and that throws a little bit more into it too. And so, yeah, I think we're all just excited with where he is right now and where he's headed.
Mike, you come here, some people would call you kind of a dark horse. Do you feel your team is kind of that being overlooked right now?
Oh, I don't even pay any attention to that. We're just trying to be as good as we can.
I feel like last summer when y'all were here, y'all talked a lot about accountability over last offseason. Is there a word that you feel like would summarize this offseason, and if so, why?
Yeah, just the improvement is the word that just keeps coming to mind with where we are. And again, like when you start year two and everybody understands what your program is, they understand expectations, they understand what's coming, they understand what workouts are going to be like, they understand how practice flows, they understand how the yearly calendar runs. You know, the amount of just calmness that brings to all of that stuff to just allow you to focus on the things that matter. You know, we talked to the team a lot after the bowl game last year about, you know, we were proud about some of the things we did from an accountability standpoint, but for us to take the next step, we had to really improve as a football team. You know, the fundamentals of the game of football, how we played the game of football it was nice this year to just from day one focus on that, to just become a better team and better football players.
Coach, to that, you kind of talked over the last year about having your team build a championship mindset. How much over the course of this offseason have you seen them kind of develop that mentality?
Yeah, I think we learned some hard lessons last year. I think one of the things that was lost on the end of last year was we were in a position we had never been in before, leading the SEC 3/4 of the way through it, and we didn't handle it well, and we didn't handle it the right way. And I think through all of that stuff you learn, and I think you learn what it takes to finish an SEC season. You learn what it takes to become one of the 100 teams in the SEC. And I think all of that kind of created a little bit of a drive and a hunger to our team. I think you see that with the amount of returners. I think one of the things that people aren't or haven't spoken enough about or recognized enough is the amount of players that have returned to this team this year. And I think all of them have a little bit of a drive to fulfill this and finish this the right way.
Mike, after one of the games last year, you talked about how your team's going to be aggressive on 4th down, and that's who you're going to be. And I guess I wonder, did some of the issues last year, do you maintain that same philosophy, or have you tweaked it about how you're going to approach that?
Yeah, I don't know that that's what I said. I think what I said was we should be able to get a yard. And I think when you talk about the analytics of the game, I think 4th and 1 across the board in most places is a go. I think you look at when I think of aggressive on 4th down, I think of teams that are going for it on 4th and 3, 4th and 4. I think it's pretty standard right now in college football that when you're 4th and 1 on your side of the field, you're going for it. I think it's become pretty standard on the other side of the 30 on 4th and 1 that you're going for it. And so I think we acknowledge that and adhere to that. I don't know that that puts us in the aggressive category.
How would you describe the competition in this league overall?
It's the best. I think the NFL tells you that every single year. I think if you look at the NFL draft year in and year out, they pick the best players, and they pick more players from this league every single year. And I think that's what that means.
Any update on Lawson and the statement you guys put out?
No.
You brought in Lyle Hemphill this offseason. Has it been working with him over the spring again, and how has the response been from the team?
Yeah, I mean, I think we want to fill our staff with as many quality coaches as we can. I think maybe a little bit was made out of that. That maybe wasn't. I think one of the things we tried to do this offseason was craft our staff to match the new rules. I think last summer they changed the rules where everybody can now coach. I think what we tried to do was take some of the lower end positions and replace those with some guys that have a lot of experience. And so I think bringing in Lyle Hemphill was huge. I think he's added a lot of quality and value to our defensive staff. I think bringing John Perry in on offense has added a lot of value and quality to our offensive staff. And I think that was just us kind of modernizing to the rule change that happened too late last year for us to fix the staff, and maybe wanted to make some adjustments to the staff this year.